Mixmag did an interview with me about me going into detox because obviously my drug habit had gone beyond.
Who had already voted you Monster of the Year.
Oh,
Right?
Caner of the Year.
Caner of the Year.
I've got that 3 times. Anyway, I had one moment where I was sitting around in a crack house with some pals, and I was watching the pipe come round, and I realised when I saw this little rock that I thought no one had seen, and just before it got to me, he smoked it. I had this thought in my head. I went, fuck, that is powerful.
For a tiny little thing, and you were devastated.
And then when that went, I went, it was like a overwhelmed with anxiety. Because I missed that little bit. I didn't think anyone had seen it. I thought, you've got to stop this, because this is bad. It's even worse than the other shit. Are we recording, by the way?
We are recording. We've just started. I'm going to do my intro in a minute.
Oh,
well,
right.
wait, no, I want to crack on.
Well, look,
we're 5 minutes in.
It'll go really quick if you do the intro.
All right, I'll do my intro.
I suppose.
But this is just fascinating because listen, welcome to Unloaded with me, Martin Deeson. This is exactly what this podcast is about for me. I'm looking at the wrong place. This is exactly what this podcast is about for me, because the hook of it is that we talk to people who were characters in the 1990s, but that's really an excuse to talk to fascinating people about their life trajectory since then. Because I think if you went through the 90s partying like crazy, almost by definition, you're an interesting person, but you must have had to think about a lot of things and change things, because otherwise, frankly, you'd be in a box by now. Now, my cute little intro, I'm now going to do, but this is going to be one of my favourite podcasts already, I can tell this. My intro went something like this. If there was a World Cup of caning it in the 1990s, I think the staff of Loaded magazine, where I was, probably would have got knocked out in the quarterfinals. I think the semis would have probably had the Groucho Club scene, Damien Hirst, Alex James, Keith Allen, that lot, Oasis, several other big bands. The Primals would have been right up there. But I can guarantee you the final of that World Cup would have been between 2 DJs, or at least 2 people involved in the dance music scene, because they pushed it out to a level that was extreme. And I've been out with doctors and lawyers and city boys. It was to a different level. And the man of the match, the winner of the final, for good and for bad, would have been my guest today, Brandon Block.
Thank you.
I got my intro in. But let's just set the scene, because there may be someone watching who doesn't know who you are. So doesn't know enough about your history. Let's just set the scene. I have to do it with the headlines, which I'm sorry, some of them must follow you around like an albatross around the neck. But I've read brilliant book, The Life and Lines of Brandon Block. Buy it. I got it on Amazon. It's really great, really interesting. I mean, there's war stories and horror stories, but also there's a lot of insight as well. But the thing, we were just talking about Brandon saying he's an empath. And the reason I know he's an empath, apart from him telling me, is that I was reading this book, and in there he talks about, towards the end of his cocaine years, which I think was 96, that he was doing 28 grams of coke a day, which people in the know will know in the old money is an ounce of coke. Now, people who've never dabbled in that scene, you normally buy a gram, and you and your mate might share a gram, and then perhaps late at night or a bit of a session, you get 2 in. When you get a bit more heavily into it, you start buying what's called an 8-ball, which is an eighth of an ounce. 3.5 grams used to be about 150 quid back in the day. People told me, and that's a big old session. But Brandon was doing an eighth for breakfast, an eighth for 11s, an eighth for lunch. And I was just going to say, the reason I know he's an empath, we were chatting on WhatsApp leading up to this, and I said, you know what, I've been reading about you doing 28 grams of coke a day. It's giving me the fear. Phone rings 2 seconds later. We haven't spoken on the phone. We haven't spoken since the 90s, and we can't even remember where we met then. And it's Brandon, what do you mean you got the fear? And I thought, that is someone who's instantly latched on to the fact. And I just meant, thinking about coke makes me feel a bit sick, because it's the only drug I know where people do it, get really high on it, and talk about how shit it is when they're on it. So how did you get to that point, I suppose, is the obvious question. How the fuck did you get off it and carry on being a DJ and carry on going to Ibiza?
All right. So, look, first let me say thanks for having me. And it's really nice to see you. And obviously, Loaded Mag was part of the change, again, as the evolution of let's say, the scene, which as you say, it was 40 years down the line, and we're still at it, right? Still our age, we're still going out, we still want to go clubbing, maybe not as often, we can't do it, obviously.
I'm not
sure about the substance intake
Try
anymore,
not to,
because I'm a bit out of the game, obviously, but it came at a time when the world was in some sort of cultural or social place Not sure what it was because we were, I think the thing about that whole scene is, or our scene, as we say it, our scene, is that we sort of skirted over life for 10, 20, 30, 40 years in a great way.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I know what you mean.
I'm not saying, look, there was a lot of people who succumbed to the bad side of drugs, I myself included, and a lot of people have unfortunately taken their own lives in this whole thing. But there's other attributes, there's other things that cause that, and it's not just, there's so much in this world that has changed for us, for everyone, the way we live and the way we interact with technology and the way the world of comparisons and expectations. I mean, in COVID, men of our age were the highest demographic of taking their own lives.
Yeah,
because
terrible.
we became superfluous.
Well, I think Gen X is what they call it, isn't it, for shorthand? It's that sort of in-between generation where we were one of the last ones before the technology happened. So we in the 90s, we partied without anyone taking a photograph on their camera, on their phone. So that was a big liberation. It was a boom time. But I think we are still a generation. You can't say we've refused to grow up because, many of us have great responsibility. You have a very responsible role in life. But we do have a different attitude, I think. And now we're hitting late 50s, 60s and 70s. And that attitude is kind of still there. I mean, we haven't turned into our dads, right?
Something's just come to me as we was talking, and you were talking about that just then, about that whole thing. So for us, we've grown up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. We've been through probably 5 or 6 of the most incredible decades of advancing world.
Yeah, science fiction.
Ever. Yeah. Right? So musically, culturally, technology, musically.
Born in the 60s, me, 65, the Beatles were having their first hits.
Well, there you go.
Do you know what I mean?
But there was no...
It's incredible.
There was no outside.
There was no youth culture.
It was music, rock, pop and disco, possibly, even early days. And, rock and roll, and used to go out dancing. You'd have the 3.2 family kids, and they were pretty much just lived by your, work to live to work.
Yeah, job for life.
Entrepreneurs weren't really existed. No. Just people had lots of money or did very well with business.
No DJs.
But moving forward, there's this whole world of, being able to create massive revenue from the technology used, from influencers, and I think, look, for us, which is why we may struggle somewhat. Look, we feel sorry for the younger people today because of the way they interact and how much they use their technology, because they're addicted to it. And it's created.
But it's not a danger that our generation is free from either, though, is it? I mean, I've heard you speak about this very eloquently. You turned your back a bit on social media.
Well, no, I don't turn my back on it. I just find that I know me, and if I sit on social media for 10, 20 minutes, my head hurts.
Me too. Yeah.
So I know that it's not good for me. Yeah. So I just... I tend to try and use it for what I need it for. I don't have it on my phone anymore.
Yeah,
I haven't had since COVID.
You just have it on a computer.
Yeah,
and
so
use
if I check Instagram
to announce gigs
today,
and whatever.
Exactly. So because I find myself scrolling. Look, I put Instagram back on for a while ago. It didn't work for me. I took it off again.
Yeah,
and it's only because I find myself getting down the rabbit hole real quick, and it's just that does my head in.
Well, it's designed for it. I mean, some of the cleverest people on the planet live in Silicon Valley and made this product that does it. I'd never really engaged that much apart from Twitter until I was getting ready to launch this podcast and I started doing Instagram. And at first I thought, this is not for me. I'm just going to put stuff on it because I'm not interested in Love Island. It's just, And then within a few weeks, of course, I found that it wasn't serving me Love Island anymore. It worked out very quickly to serve me Brandon Block, to serve me something about the Stones, 60s culture, 70s culture, interesting writers. And one evening I looked, I was like, fucking hell, 3 hours has gone. And my mate said to me, he goes, can you remember anything about that 3 hours? And I was like, there might have been something from Woodstock. It's just, it's evil.
Look, and it's great for information. It's great for research. It's great for many things. But so look, we're humans. We're addictive by nature. We're not. Look, you say we're predisposed. I don't believe that. It's not genetic, because look, if you say it's genetic and you're predisposed to it, why would a young person, a child, take a phone at the age of 5 or 6 or whatever it is, and then 3 weeks later try and take the phone away?
Yeah,
you've created an addict by notifications, by the we are creatures of habit. We're also creatures of experience.
And
if we do something we like or gives us a quick instant gratification fix, we're going to do it again.
That's what I was just about to say, because I have spent so much of my life since the 1990s trying to, not be a cane and moderate my thing. And I've got to quite a good place in life where I'm like where I am now. I have the occasional drink. We talked about it before, but people always talk about, is it genetic? Is it because your dad was a drinker? My dad wasn't at all. Is it trauma? Well, I think anyone really, it's easy to look back and go, childhood was traumatic, but then your brother or sister might look back and say their childhood was perfect. I personally think, I remember there's I can't remember his name, Richard Neville, one of the big writers of hippie stuff, said about dope at the time. He said, the thing is it addictive? He said, it's just very pleasurable. So you just want to do it again and again and again. And I think that's humans. We're like rats in a laboratory. We'll press the cocaine button until we starve.
Johan Hari did the Rat Park thing, the experiment, where it's called and he says isolation causes the addiction, but we're talking about drugs here.
Yeah,
addiction to drugs and alcohol, right, or substances which are bad and illegal. This is when it becomes a problem, because you don't get called a chocolate addict. You don't get called
exercise.
You don't get called a social media addict.
No.
The world is full of social media addicts.
Well, gambling is the one that I find horrifying.
Well, gambling.
People lose their house in a day.
Yes. Well, gambling is but there's nothing you put in your body for gambling.
No,
it's that.
Yeah.
It's that quick fix.
Just that on a screen.
It's instant gratification. This is what because we like things quick.
Yeah.
Right, which is why Amazon's what works.
Yeah.
We're all bad for Amazon. We can all get it down tomorrow. Because personally, for me, I don't like going shopping anymore.
No.
Maybe because I'm lazy. Maybe I get overwhelmed. I think, I can't make decisions. I want that. I can't. Unless I know what I'm going for. But generally, I walk around shops and I think,
I'm the same. It's like a queue outside my door. It's like Jeff Bezos' wet dream. No wonder he's the richest man in the world. There's 30 of them with boxes every day.
Well, yeah. Look, this is I shop on Amazon now, so I get foodstuffs. So and it's not because it's convenient, as you say. You can wait a day. It might even arrive the same day. You don't have to drive to the shop and bump into loads of people you don't want to see, because humanity's changed. We can still talk to each other, but a lot of other people struggle to talk because of the constraints we live under, and stuff that's gone on in this world. Anyway, so look, this is my stuff I've learned, right, and it's only my take on it. It might be wrong, but it's what I have discovered about me. That yes, I have addictive tendencies. I don't have an addictive personality as such. I don't think that exists. I think it's just our behaviours we're used to. Yes, we have trauma. Who knows? If you said you had a great childhood, I don't remember my childhood being bad. I wasn't abused or anyway, but I have trauma.
Yeah.
Of being maybe not being nurtured enough. Because
our parents were pretty unnurturing, right? In that decade.
And also, don't forget, we're the only species of animal that hangs around till we're 30 years old.
Yeah,
maybe. We don't
17 in my case.
Between 16 and unfortunately you leave earlier or you have to leave. But there are lots of circumstances. But generally, we're the ones who hang around the longest, the species, because we need a lot of programming. It's not just instinct and surviving and reproducing. It's a whole lot of other things we have.
Well, also we've got super big brains as well. I've got a little one. I've got a big one, and I've got grandchildren. I've got a little one, and it's amazing to watch it at my age now, when I know a little bit more about the world. And people say, I've heard therapists say, the first 5 years are the most important. And really, it's that simple. Obviously, you've got to feed them and keep them alive, but they just need to be secure. It's that simple, I think. Anything that promotes insecurity in the first 5 years. I've been to 12 steps. I've done AA. And the one thing they always say is, hear it over and over again in AA. My first memory is my parents screaming and shouting at each other. Yeah. And then the second thing you hear is, I had a drink really early, age 8, and it made me feel so good. It got rid of the scared feeling.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times in the rooms.
I'm not sure about...
You're the expert.
I did 12-step for 3 months, 90 meetings in 90 days when I first stopped. And that was because it was an offer.
Yeah.
96, you couldn't, as I said, you can't go out and shout on the streets, I'm struggling, I've just stopped taking an ounce of cocaine a day and I'm fucked. You can't go out on the street and do that. So go to meetings.
I don't think people knew it was harmful in the 90s. We were writing in a magazine, boasting about how much gear we were doing and everything. And no one went, you're going to fuck your body and your brain. It just didn't occur to anyone. It's like, whoa, look at those crazy kids.
Exactly. We never knew anything about
Publishers didn't mention it. No one, no grown-ups.
So when I was quite vocal about my problem, and Mixmag did an interview with me about me going into detox, because obviously my drug habit had gone beyond.
Who had already voted you Monster of the Year.
Oh,
right?
Caner of the Year. I've done that 3 times. But anyway, lucky enough, I had my moment of epiphany when I realised that. I realised what I was living in the fear of not being able to do drugs anymore. I mean, living with the fear of living without drugs.
I mean, you were on death's door, though, right?
I was on death's door. Yeah, I was very, very, very unwell. But I was also that was my anxiety holding me into still using. But then the meds weren't working, as they say. That famous quote: the drugs don't work anymore. They weren't medicating my illnesses.
When you get to 26 grams a day, it's obviously not working, right?
It was that I averaged that.
Horrible headline, okay, but even half that would be.
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I was doing it was an existence, but it was horrific.
Yeah,
and I think about it now, and I think, how did I?
You must have felt awful.
So it was like this all day long.
Yeah, because you were doing that. You weren't smoking.
No. Well, I did have a bit on the crack, but luckily enough, I think this is so. I realised I had one moment when I was sitting around in a crack house with some pals, and I was watching the pipe come round, and I realised when I saw this little rock that I thought no one had seen, and just before it got to me, he smoked it. I had this thought in my head and went, fuck, that is powerful.
For a tiny little thing, and you were devastated.
And then when that went, I went, it was like a overwhelmed
personal
anxiety.
Bereavement.
Because I missed that little bit. I didn't think anyone had seen it. I thought, you've got to stop this, because this is bad. It's even worse than the other shit.
Yeah, that's what they say.
And that's when I stopped.
Yeah.
So I have this ability to do that. Like, so for instance, I stopped smoking 4 years ago. It took me ages to get to there.
It's the hardest one, yeah.
But I just stopped overnight. I woke up next month, I've had enough. And that's exactly the same thing I said to myself when I was in the clinic, in the hospital, waiting for my my painkillers, distal Gesics, Rohypnol, all this medication I was taking to cope with my fucking mental state and my drug abuse. But you know what the other thing is, and look, I just want to, look, we've touched on the drug stuff. I get it. I mean, look, but you know what, Mark? It's so long ago now.
Yeah,
I actually don't remember this stuff. It's gone from my head. I don't think about me being a drug addict anymore, because I'm so far removed from that now. I look.
I'm sorry to drag you back to it.
No, don't be silly. Of course, I'm happy to talk about it.
I think only because I honestly think I'm genuinely not chasing horror stories in that way, in a tabloidy kind of way. I genuinely think there are people I know, let alone people I know, who are going to be watching this or listening to it and have issues and can learn from this sort of experience.
I'm not saying it because you are fishing for that stuff. I'm just saying that the process of, I call it discovery, discovering me, more about me. I don't think I'm recovering anymore, because I'm better. I got better a long time ago. I got better when I stopped taking drugs. That's when I started my road to discovery. Yeah. All right, but I recovered, let's say, a year or two. No, actually, took me. But look, I can't be in recovery for myself for the rest of my life. That's just my experience, right?
Yeah.
I do emphasize that this is my take on it, right? So I don't believe that I can be recovering for the rest of my life.
Well, can I say my experience on that? Yeah. I, like you, did AA for 3 months when my drinking 5-6 years ago, it was just before lockdown, so I suppose 6 years ago now, it was really getting too much, really was. And I thought I've just, I went to AA meetings. I've got several thoughts about AA. One, I think, before I say anything else, I think it's absolutely brilliant. AA, NA, CA, all those things. People need to know that you don't need to be a street drinker or crackhead or whatever to benefit from it. It's free. Every town in Britain will have more than one group, probably every night of the week, even a small town.
100%.
I didn't go for it. I thought, I'm going to see people I know. It's going to be so embarrassing. Awful. The biggest step for me was just a step of getting through the door, walking in the door. And then I found a room of people so like me. Because what I found is I went to meetings in Hastings, like I say, for 3 months like you did. And in Hastings meetings, everyone looked like people in Hastings. Some fishermen, loads of people moved down from London with loads of tattoos and interesting facial hair, all that lot. I went to ones in Bexhill up the road and Battle. Everyone looks like people in Bexhill and Battle. Ladies with pink rinses, old ladies, just really ordinary people who've got in a bit of a state. And it's a really, really good thing. And then I didn't stay personally because I found it enormously useful for 3 months. And then what put me off slightly was that there were people in there who were going, I've been coming here for 25 years. And that was obviously how they defined themselves. They were an AA person. And I thought, I don't want to be that. So I came out, I stayed, and I didn't drink for 4 years. And now I drink a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, look, for me, there was a couple of things that I just didn't sit with me at that time. Only because my head was like war. It was like a war zone. Like bombs going off in it.
Yeah.
Like my anxiety was through the roof. It was the most uncomfortable. I would never wish where I went with when I stopped taking drugs for anyone to go to. It was the worst, most horrific, self-flagellating fucking thing I could ever think of. I mean, like, I sat in a room like this because I sat in rooms and listened, and I couldn't listen because my head was like. Imagine taking that much stimulus every single day.
I can't. Yeah.
So I was in these rooms and I was going. I was thinking, oh my God, I just need to let this stuff. And look, the one thing I learned about anxiety, or let's say stress, whatever you want to call it, is that it passes, and it won't kill you. Stress, the physical side of stress, can lead to very bad illnesses, the release of cortisol. But the anxiety, the thinking stuff, it will take you to let's say a ceiling of heightened anxiety where it gets the worst. And then what happens is it's called a period of habitation. So it will sit there for however long, you know, until you eventually wear yourself out, you tire out, and then start surfing the wave. And I had I don't know if you remember I remember this recently, that years and years ago, there was this little stand. You'd go into a chemist or a local post office, and there was a stand saying your little book of diabetes or your little book of blah, 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 blah. And I found this little book. It's a little book of stress. And I picked it up and I read it and I was like, oh my God. So every time I got stressed, I was reading this little book and it would bring me down. So, you know, for me, I think the labeling, I've never agreed with the labeling. This is what I've struggled with. And I think, you know, look, I advocate for meetings. If I work with anyone, I get them into meetings. Go to a meeting because, as you say,
it's free therapy.
It's the support network which is invaluable. You need that. You can't. I was very stubborn. I did a lot of it on my own. I white knuckled it. I DJ'd. I went back to Ibiza and I didn't take drugs. I just got me on with myself. I went back to the hotel room in Pikes, and everyone was at it in Pikes, and I'd be going to my room and just sitting there, waiting to go and do the gig. Come out. I'd say hello to everyone, all the DJs. Say yep. And they go, "You're not coming?" I'd go, no, I'm all right. I'm going back to the room. My dad would be out of them, going out on the piss and various other bits and pieces, and I'd be sitting in the room. But what they told me back in the day was that you change your friends.
I was going to say, that's what people always say.
This is what
you change your whole
It's called
scene.
a geographical. And you go to, if you go into like in the fellowship, you say you're having a geographical, means you move.
Yeah.
You take yourself. This is why when you go to rehab, it's often a long way away, and they don't like to. Right. This is why often people don't go back to. So if they do
change their friends, they change everything. Yeah,
they move to that area.
But you stayed a DJ.
So I live in Bournemouth, right? And there's a massive recovery community in Bournemouth, and a lot of my mates I've seen are in the fellowship in Bournemouth and moved from London. They did their rehab in London and they stayed there because it's full of triggers. We know that, right? London. Look. The whole thing about rehab is it's very lovely and it's fluffy, but as soon as that's finished, if you're not into a as you say geographical move, you'll get triggered. And if you're not aware and you're not fully prepared for the triggers, chances are you'll probably relapse. And that's why it's a problematical thing, because you have this wonderful experience for 3 months and then the real world's out there again. So if you can find, but for me, I was very stubborn, and it was like, you won't be able to DJ again. You won't be able to go into that bar. You won't be able to go to Ibiza.
Well, that's where it started. Let's move it on to the DJ. Yeah. Because that's where it started. Because that was remarkable to me that you didn't miss a beat. You went straight back to DJing. You've stayed as one of the pillars of Ibiza.
Well, I just faced...
Despite all... I mean, I've been to Ibiza many times, and it's hard to imagine doing it without supplements.
I think it's a decision, mate. And it's a decision... And it's a passion. So music's always been my passion. Music was my saviour back in the day when I was a kid. I got bullied at school. I went to a lunchtime disco with a friend of mine who took me in under his blazer, and I learned dance. I learned to jazz dance. I learned to shuffle with all my black friends who are with both my best mates to today. And music was my life. So I didn't say I'm not stopping my music, and I'm not fucking stopping DJing. I'm not going to avoid my friends. because I just had to face every demon as it came, and it was difficult. Which is why I would, if I would never say to anyone try that the way I did it, because it's fucking hard, and it's probably unnecessary. Get to a fucking meeting, because it makes it so much easier, because you've got people who are insane. You know, people, as they say, I know, look, I remember the stuff, even those first 3 months of vulnerability when you're absolutely fucked, there's things that went in. So, you know, you look for the similarities, not the differences. You don't judge. Yeah. You know, you just sit, listen, take it on board, don't feel alone, because isolation is one of the worst, because you feel alone. You think, who else is like this?
Is that, I mean, I want to come to Ibiza for you, because you're synonymous with Ibiza. Yeah, you and Alex have invented the terrace at Space, which for anyone who spent any time there is one of the most special places in the world.
I think so.
Is that what, I mean, music and clubs, is that what Ibiza is meant to you? Sort of love. I mean, anyway, when you spend some time in Ibiza, people always in a few weeks start going, oh, it's ley lines and this. It has a special feel. Was that a healing place for you?
I mean, look, you know, when sorry, excuse me, I'm getting hot under my hat, but for me, yes.
What is it about
Ibiza was a incredibly spiritual place. I think, look, the world's synchronized or collided or whatever at that particular point in time when music, ecstasy, social constraints, Ibiza, ley lines, energies all collided and became this incredible, wonderful, experiential Spanish holiday, which is what it is, you know.
But a great Spanish holiday, with a difference, with a twist.
The most fantastic Spanish holiday. And, you know, Ibiza with the ley lines and, you know, it's Vedra and that, and there's a certain energy which is always supposed to be there. And hippies have been going there for that long. We know about.
Well, the Romans used to send their troops there for R&R, right? I was going to write a book about it years ago. I did the research. Wow. It was a Roman holiday camp for centurions. Once every 20 years, they get a break and they go to Ibiza.
So there you go. I mean, it's steeped in history.
Yeah,
it's quite incredible. The you know, the stuff that we as a species have done over the years. And you think Romans, oh God, how many years ago were they? Were they sending them on for respite and rest? And they knew they were tired. They needed to rest. So look, I said to myself, look, because if I wasn't able to do what the music and the DJing, I would have carried on with the drugs.
Sure.
If I knew that moment when I said, I've had enough, and I knew that there wasn't something for me to do after that, you know, and I wasn't aware of.
It's your life. Yeah.
You know, when I was in the detox for 3 weeks, they said, you need to go to these meetings, and that's all that was available. There was no other options as such. But, you know, when I obviously, the thinking for me was, look, I can immerse myself in my music. I love my music. I can do whatever. I just don't need to take. I had this moment of clarity when I thought, I can live without drugs. And that's what was holding me in the drugs, the fear of that. And once I had that moment in the hospital thinking, I can do this. Although it was a fleeting moment, and then I went back into the fear and the anxiety again. But I had that moment of clarity, and I thought, well, if I can get here, then I'm done. And that's what I held on to. And that's what, the decision I made when I said I'd had enough was so powerful and so full of intention that my brain clicked.
Well, that's what Alan Carr says in his smoking book, isn't it? Which is a bit of a cliche, but I had to read that book maybe 10 times. Finally, I got it 10 years ago, and I just got the bit that you just never let nicotine of any form into your body ever again. Yeah. I mean, in a month, you're clear. But it's all about the mental click, isn't it?
And I had that my brain clunked into this sort of acceptance and accepting me for, you know, that I could do it. But it's going to be tough. I get it. I had no idea what I was going to have to go through or who I was going to have to contact or any of this stuff. And when you work in the field, you learn this stuff. And it's like there's a tool called the cycle of change, which is very basic, but it just does what it says on the tin. It's a great tool to work with people with. But once I made that decision, I knew that I had to find a way to I wasn't going to be able to do the whole thing on my own.
Yeah,
because I had no idea what to do. So that's when I found Bill Shanahan, or my dad did, in fact. But you know, I went to see him, and he's quoted in my book. He said, "I've never met anyone who could do so much cocaine and still stand up." And you know, as I said, I never relapsed. I never went back because the fear of what that stuff did to me was so powerful. I was too scared to do it again, no matter what. So I was never concerned that a trigger was stressed, like you said earlier, stressful event.
Yeah.
I'm going to use
That wasn't a risk for you.
That wasn't an option. That door had been completely shut, welded shut, closed, locked, bashed up, boarded up. And
thank God for that. It's great to see you looking so well.
Thank you, mate.
Now.
And so I knew that was that.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, let's move on to modern times.
Let's move on. Well, let's the one story I really want to ask you about, Ibiza story, because I don't know if it's true or not. It's sort of apocryphal amongst club goers. The Terrace at Space. I mean, don't forget, some people have never been, but the Terrace at Space, I don't even know if it's still going. Was this? No. Is it not closed?
Space is closed.
Space is closed. It was
Space is closed.
So basically, it was an outdoor area around Space's.
It was the first out. It was the first after hours club.
Morning. It used to start about 10, 11 in the morning.
No,
was it?
Earlier. There was 6 inside. 9 o'clock. The terrace would open, but the music would go on at 10. So it was the first after-hour daytime party in the world.
And the atmosphere was like nothing else on earth. It was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was incredible.
Cane chairs, people sitting in peacock chairs, drinking coffee.
The most incredible people, the most incredible.
I met some of my best friends in the world there. It's amazing.
Me too.
Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day. 40 years down the line, still friends, still talk about those memories at Space. And, how wonderful it was and what an experience to be part of that.
But the story is that your DJing partner, Alex PZ, kind of invented the idea. Is that right? They carried the decks out?
Alex did? He was living in Ibiza anyway for the year before. And he was looking, I think, him and James Mitchell was a friend of ours. They were living out there. They looked for something. I don't know how it came. I can't remember how it came. But anyway, he spoke to Pep about, because I think Alex was DJing inside Space as well after Amnesia. I think him and Pep come to the idea that the terrace could be used for background music in the daytime, because he had a license which went 24 hours.
Right. It was a loophole, wasn't it? You had to shut a club for an hour a day.
Yes. So that's happened. So they came up with this idea. 90, I think, or maybe 91 it started. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, so 91, Alex starts the terrace on Space. It's funded by himself. He stocks the bar, puts the decks behind the bar, puts the speakers in. I think Pep helped him with that. And starts, and people start going Sunday morning. Obviously, people want to party in Ibiza, so what's better than having somewhere to go after the club shut? So Amnesia probably out until 7. Roofs come off. Esperadisa's done the same. But at this point, there's only one club open per night. So Pasha's open every day.
Oh, is that how it was then?
Yeah, well, no, not one club, but there'd be one
good night.
One big night.
Yeah.
Per club.
Yes.
But the big night was Sunday, because everyone came out.
Well, Saturday was changeover day. It was all the tourists. So Saturday was not a good night in Ibiza back in the day.
Everyone came on a Sunday. So and so that's what happened. And it became incredible.
It was wonderful. So I'll tell you a funny story about Alex P. So Peasy. So I used to live around the corner from him in West Hampstead, late 90s, early 2000s. So I went on a press trip to China to cover a martial arts contest. Really not my normal beat at all, but I did. And another guy on the trip was Gareth Morgan, who was editor of the Daily Star. And he says, we're sitting drinking.
Gareth Morgan?
Yes.
What, DJ Gareth?
No, journalist
Oh,
Gareth.
No. It's not Gareth Morgan. Well, yes.
So we're sitting around drinking this Chinese spirit called Baijiu all day. And eventually one day he says to me in the middle of this trip, he goes, do you want a column in the Daily Star? And I'm like, well, of course, who doesn't? Yeah, of course, it's work for a journalist. Right.
So I had a column in the Daily
no, that's
Star.
the point. So I do it it didn't go brilliantly. I did it for about 3 months. Did about 6 months, but after about 3 months, he says to me, he goes, do you know who you took over from on the Star on the Saturday? It was terrible. It was called The Geezer with a Freezer Full of Beer. It's a terrible name. He came up with it. He said, do you know who you took over from? I said, no. He goes, Brandon Block. I was like, whoa, big shoes to fill. He goes, do you know why we love Brandon? I said, no. He goes, he did this job for a year and he never once put in an invoice, so we never had to pay him. And it was about £1,000 a week. So next time I met Alex in the bar around the corner in West Hampstead, I said to him, PC, you better phone Brandon. They owe him about £50,000. And he got you on the phone and you got on the phone to me. I remember it going like, really? Did I not? I was saying, so
I never got that.
Did you not got your 50?
Are they still in existence?
Only just, I think. You never got your money.
No.
Oh, terrible.
Oh my, yeah, I did it for a year. You're right. Anyway, but I mean, I've done so many things. I forgot about having my own column in Daily Star. It was fantastic.
You've done so many things.
I had my own TV show on a Sky channel.
Did you?
It was called The Blocko's Brits. After the Brits,
which of course is a famous story.
But we've talked about that.
We don't need to. I know you must be sick at that. You don't need to talk about that again.
So look.
And you did Big Brother, which I've never watched it.
Yeah,
you did it and you walked off.
That was ill-timed again, unfortunately, because I literally was working at the NHS doing the outreach work, which was all really and I was in Woval, I was in burnout at that particular time because, as I said, we weren't getting supported with the right, handovers and this, that, and the other. So I went into this house burnt out, and they'd asked me to be Big Brother many times before.
Yeah,
and I always got pipped at the post by Bears or by Dane Bowers.
You'd be the same slot, wouldn't you?
Something like so. The music person got filled by like Dane Bowers at Bears or someone else. So I never got. And then they said, yes, we really want you. But by that time, I think way back when I was still a bit of a loony. They wanted Mad Brandon, but I'm now on this journey of sort of mental health, helping people and doing outreach and working with boundaries.
Also quite vulnerable to be. I mean, because to me, it's always sounded like a living hell. Being in a small unit with whatever is it, a dozen strangers
at that time, because I was struggling with all this stuff about with the people I've been working with. And I'm thinking, what if they watch the show and I speak about them? It's all confidential and I can't share. There's all this stuff going on. Anyway, I wasn't in the right frame of mind to be in the house, really. I mean, I stayed for 2 weeks, and then the psychiatrist of the show said, look, Brant, he said, I'm a big fan and blah, blah, blah. He said, I don't want to see you put yourself through therapy on telly, which is what's happening. I can see it. You can see you going through this process on TV, and no one else can notice it, but I can see it. Are you comfortable? He said, I thought you'd come out in 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, 2 weeks in, I'm still. And he said, do you want to leave? And I went, and I said, he said, you can have a phone call. Do you want to phone someone? And I went, and I should have in hindsight, because my mate Gary, who was monitoring all the Instagrams and all that stuff. So if I'd have rang him, he said, why didn't you ring me?
Because I heard you were in the lead at the point, right? You were one of the public's most popular people.
Yeah, I was in the lead.
So you would have been up by the massive check.
I could have. Yeah, I mean, look, if I'd have rung Gary, he said, don't you dare leave.
Don't leave.
Don't leave. Just stay there. No matter what you've got to do. Just be there.
But you didn't. You just walked out the back door.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Literally.
Well, literally, like
just
minicab.
I went to the Big Brother room. I said, look, it's not for me at the moment. I'm not really doing very well here. I'm sorry. I'm not going to make a big hoo-ha about this. I'm just going to go, blah, blah, blah. They let me out the back door, and I went straight to my local pub where I lived, because it was only half hour away from where I lived, where the studio is. And I stood in the pub, had a water. I think, I might have had a buzz. I can't remember. But I was standing there watching the TV, and Big Brother was on. And I was standing at the bar, and all of that was like, they've all sort of gone,
hang on, you're meant to be in there.
Double take. What's he doing here? And so listen, all in life's rich tapestry. I've been very fortunate to be done any of that, all that stuff. I was on top of the pops. I had my number 3 hit in the charts in 1990, Blockster, You Should Be Dancing.
Oh, God.
So I'd
forgotten that until you said
top
that.
Of the pops. I did the DJ bit, and top of the pops.
What a life!
Man, it was an iconic show. I mean, I'm so fortunate to be able to have done that.
Listen, it's a very journalistic thing to always try and look for threads through people's lives, but I think it's very powerful when you say that you're an empath, and I can feel that about you without being too. Do you think is that skill, that talent, being an empath, is actually what's helped you be a really amazing DJ and to sense the mood of a room, as well as being your sort of counselling role or whatever you call it? Is there a common thread there? Is it all about?
I think no. Look,
people's feelings.
I think the thing that's resonates. When I started my sort of when I came out of the Big Brother house, I was really emotionally drained, and I needed to find a way back. So I started on my journey of discovery, let's say, personal development, if you want to call it that, doing works, meditating, all that spiritual stuff, and started, trying to build myself up again and give myself some, some love. And I met a guy who taught me his goal mapping method, which is like a life coaching, which I do now. I'm a practitioner. When
you're a life coach now as well.
Well, as and when needed. I'm not. I don't make it my job.
Okay.
Because people struggle now. It's not like it was before COVID, or when that world of everyone was investing in their mental health and everyone's being powerful and becoming entrepreneurial and all this business stuff. But they're not doing that now, because the world's fucked. People are really struggling with their mental health now, and it's just not so. What you find is, I don't know if this is so, when you're in the grips of, unfortunately, people haven't been given these tools to manage that stuff. They go through life, and then all of a sudden they're put on all this stuff goes on, and they're like, oh, what's going on?
So you think people have more mental health problems now than our parents' generation, but even now more than 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
I personally
Or do we
think
just
now,
not know what to
yes,
call
of course
it?
they did, because look, there's still that man up and get on with it. So there wasn't,
Yeah.
but there weren't. There also wasn't the additions in the life. It was fairly simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, they got stressed about money.
Yeah.
Yes, they got stressed about illness.
There's
But you know, a
two
lot
channels
of
on
our
TV,
generation
you know.
the generation before us and before that would just get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and if they got on with it, then they got on with it. You know,
Mm.
so if they missed the rent man would come round and they say, "I can't need Brexit to pay for it." So that was a stress. They get the money eventually. Hopefully, things got to pay for it. They get food on the table. They raise the children. They go to work. They come home. There's so much else that goes on in
I
this
tell you what,
world.
also people, I just thought of what people forget as well is that in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, there were enormous psychiatric hospitals. I worked in one as a volunteer when I was about 13, and my great aunt was in Epsom Looney Bin. That's not the right word for it.
I did my training
not politically
at
correct.
Moulsey at Bethlem.
She'd been there all her life.
We know Bethlem, the
famous one, yeah.
The nickname Bedlam came from the hospital.
Okay, right.
The Bethlem Hospital came from Bedlam.
Right.
Because if you go in, there's still got photos of the head screws and stuff around.
And there was thousands of people in these places.
Yeah, massive. But that was the answer. You
lock them up. Yeah.
But now you manage it yourself.
Yeah.
But you
care in the community. Or lack of care in the community.
If you get the tools to do it.
Yes.
And this is what the smart recovery thing is. It's the tool. It's a CBT based methodology,
which for people who don't know is cognitive behavioural therapy, which is telling you how the words, the thoughts in your, if I'm wrong, the thoughts in your head dictate the feelings.
Well, look, this is how I articulate it or explain to people. Cognitive means cogs, how your brain works.
Right.
Yeah. Behavioural therapy, right? So if you picture Big Ben, that big clock's not going to turn on its own. Right, it needs a million little cogs to get the big one turning. Right, this is how our thought processes work. Negative thought, bigger negative thought, more negative thoughts,
right,
more negative thoughts.
And sometimes these negative thoughts are not in the front of your mind.
No.
You have to dig a little bit to realise that you're reproducing harmful voices from your childhood or whatever, right?
That kind of thing. What? Listen, there's a whole part of this which I've sort of studied a bit. A guy called Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
Incredible. And that was a light bulb moment. The smart recovery was a light bulb moment because it was for me. I mean, yes, I'm spiritual in a way, but the cognitive stuff worked for me. Yeah. I know when I'm ticking wrong. Sometimes I stay in it because it releases cortisol. We're getting addicted to the cortisol. Your body, this is what Joe Dispenza explains. And I thought, oh my God. I sit down thinking, right, well, why do I still get these mad days of anxiety or, overthinking and blah, blah, blah. I haven't touched drugs for 30 years nearly. I haven't drunk for nearly, 20 years, whatever it is. Years and years and years. Why do I still do this? And then my take on this is my take, briefly, right? And this comes down to media. It's not conspiracy theories. This is fact, right? I say fact. This is it's not hard to see. If we were happy, let's say in the realm of happiness, on a daily basis, all day long, you would need nothing, right?
Right.
Food, somewhere to live. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of human needs: connectivity, food, somewhere to live, some warmth. What's the other couple? Anyway, I can't remember.
Something to cover your body in,
but just basics, minor needs to be a human, survive and thrive.
Yeah.
But then what you add in is, if you're happy, you're not buying nothing.
The new iPhone.
You're not buying none of that. You're saying, what? I'm really happy. Pair of jeans, pair of trousers, pair of trainers, iPhone, Amazon. I'm really happy. I don't need anything.
That's a good point.
Well, we're going to make you need something because we're going to stress you out. While we do
That's the bad side of Amazon, like we were talking about before.
Also, you get
a little dopamine hit, don't you?
Exactly.
Oh, good.
It's not even that. That's not. I mean, it's brief dopamine hits. But how quick is it? It's instant gratification. It lasts for that long.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got to do it again.
Yeah.
But this is my take on it again. I can't generalize and say everyone, but this is what I think. we are now in an addiction. No, I don't like the word addiction. We are now used to living in cortisol, stress. Right?
We feel bored, or if there's not,
but living in cortisol is our default now.
Yeah.
So our mind and our bodies go. If I'm happy, and you think, oh, I'm calm. I'm relaxed. All the cortisol's gone from my body. Like when you work out in the morning, you come out, you think I feel great. Not long before you've started feeling shit again, because your body goes, right, I've got to be happy, and then you drive or you do something, and you're starting to think, starting to get stressed a bit now, and you're not without realising your body's releasing cortisol, fear, instinctual. Like I'm driving now, so I've got to be mindful. If you drive happily, not giving a shit about anything, chances are you're going to not concentrate, and then you've phones, blah blah blah, technology, blah, blah, then all of a sudden you're in stress again. But your body, you're used to it. That's where you're used to being.
And the thing is, now I'm really obsessed with this. There's no gaps anymore. So if I'm waiting for a bus and it says the bus is 3 minutes, that phone is out. Absolutely out. I'm checking the weather. I'm checking the news headlines. I'm doing this. And I remember to this day being, I don't know, 22. I used to live in King's Cross. Actually, I was in a squat in Hackney. My girlfriend was in King's Cross, and I left her one night to get the last tube back to Hackney for some reason. And I remember it this day, there was a 40-minute wait for the tube. There was no clock even on the platform those, but I remember waiting, and I had nothing with me. I had no book or newspaper or anything. It was really late at night. So I just walked up there. I remember thinking, I've read every single advert on this tube platform.
I do that.
But you know what I mean? I had to keep my brain busy somehow, because I'm like a rat in a laboratory.
No, I do that as well, because you're so used to being stimulated.
Exactly. I'll read the GIF in the back of it. If I go to a loo for a dump and there's no newspaper in there, I'll read the back of GIF.
There's got to be a time or a place
when we just sat.
When you just sat. In Buddhism, you do that. You know, like look, I go to Thailand, I sit. I used to go in a spa and just sit. Yeah. And do like colonic irrigation and all that, and just sit. Yeah. Or read a little bit, or immerse yourself in a good book, or something nourishing. But you could sit.
It's so powerful.
And look, I'm slowly managing to sit now. It's taking the time, but I've had to change lots of stuff, like taking video from phone. I've noticed the last few weeks, my screen time has gone down from 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, like the last few days, because I've done, it's been 2 hours a day. So it's come down my screen time like 46%.
Which is still 2 hours more. I mean, imagine 20 years have you been told that we have 2 hours on this fucking thing.
But you wait until this is what I thought. I thought of this, hold on a minute. I said, when we used to go to work, when I had a job, 9 to 5, 30 years ago or whatever, you'd go into school, in work in the morning, start at 9 o'clock, 10:15, have a 15-minute tea break, come out, 12:30, have a half-hour lunch break, go back, 15-minute tea break at half 3 and work. And sometimes screen time nowadays, 7 hours.
Is that much?
Well,
that's a good point,
some
isn't
kids,
it?
even
it's a working day.
Even the school kids at that program in Yorkshire, they said, have a look at your screen time. They said, 13 hours.
Jesus Christ. That's more than daylight.
Yeah. So it's like a night, everything. It's not a switch off.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is, you're right, it's that power of sitting with yourself, because you sit with yourself in the present moment, and it's very difficult to do because obviously life doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
And you forget the future, forget the past, and just sit here.
But I think people need to be reminded you can get that again really quickly. I just spent 3 nights in Wales. It was really lovely. My mother-in-law, because I was stressed, she bought me a little yoga retreat in Wales, and just me in a cottage, and twice a day I'd go to the big house for a yoga lesson. No signal, nothing. Within a day, I'm just sitting there looking at the wall for an hour at a time, happy as, just so happy and calm and peaceful. We haven't lost it. You can relearn it, but people need to turn it off, put it away. Listen, we're just over time now. So I just want to say, actually, I've got one last question just before we finish, because this I'm fascinated by. When you were doing more counselling and that kind of thing, when people came along to the session, did they ever walk in and go, fuck me, it's Brandon Block? Surely that must have happened.
Not. I had that happen when I was working in the drug service.
Right, surely.
Yes, of course, because when I started working in drugs, it was still, clubs still hugely, we still are, but a lot of people came from that world. Yeah. Loads.
Of course. The
Millions.
Casualties were coming out of the clubs.
Exactly. Yeah. So they'd walk in and they'd go, oh my God.
So I think they're dreaming.
And I think.
And it helps.
Of course it helped.
Yeah.
I mean, because
they can connect and...
It's experience.
Yeah.
So they know that
You've been there.
They know that I've been there.
Done the pills,
and they know I've written the book about that particular
Many
thing.
times.
So it's that connectivity, isn't it? It's that it's being being able to say, oh my God, you do understand where I'm coming from, or you can feel my pain, or you can understand, the stuff I'm going through.
Yeah, not mostly preached to by a doctor. They want to know you've been there.
No, but
in the gutter looking at the stars.
This is one thing I learned when I went to do the job as a volunteer, which I started as. My friend Katie, who she who was a friend of mine, I didn't know I had no idea about the drug service. I just woke up one day and it's this mad urge to give back. And it was about 10 years into my journey, let's say, and I just think, I'm going to help people, and I think we all get it at some point in our lives. When you're on a journey, you think, I want to help people, I want to share my experience. And I went to see her and she said, look, you can't just walk in here and tell people what to do.
Story.
It don't work.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
You have to learn things. And she said, look, I'm happy for you to come on, and training's just starting. This is Blenheim. This is Blenheim CDP, the drug project. This is what I was working for. Training's just started in Portobello Road. I can get you on that course. It'll give you a background. It's an MVQ. It'll give you the background into how this stuff works. Right. So I went and did the training. I was doing my voluntary work, and that's how my journey started in this world of learning about myself. And and I took to it because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding out how I worked and why I worked like I did. So, sorry, I lost my track then. That was it. Yeah.
Well, I was saying the other way of doing it is you just don't bother doing any training at all. You just get a podcast and wang on about it like me. Hope for the best.
I haven't got, there's so many podcasts out there, and
I know. Tell me about it.
But look, I
thought I was the first.
I get asked enough to do podcasts. Maybe one day.
It's because of the story, isn't it? I mean, obviously it's because of the Club Legends thing, but it's the trajectory, and I think it is that people instinctively are attracted to your strengths for yourself, but also the strength of feeling that you've just said about giving back to people. And as you say precisely, that if you want to know, how to paint a car, you go to a bloke who's worked in Dagenham. If you want to know how to get off drugs, you talk to a bloke who's been right to the front line on the battlefield, right?
Well, maybe one day that's something I will think about. But I'm actually quite content at the moment with my downtime.
Good.
And my life is calmer.
You've got good balance by the sound of it.
Yeah, I think I've got fair balance now. It's taken a while to get there because I moved from London during COVID, and what I found for me was that the downtime I know the pandemic was horrific for everyone, but the downtime was what I needed. I wasn't aware that
I loved it. I think everyone did. A lot of people did. People didn't realise.
Well, I'd started
our lives.
I'd started a group at the Ministry of Sound once a month called For Mental Health. It was called Breaking the Silence. They asked me to come and host a panel, and then on the back of that, they said, "Can you do a group?" I said, "Do you want to do a group here once a month?" So I started my own group, which was on the back of my charity Happy Day stuff, which I was doing as well.
Ministry of Sound Minds.
Yeah, exactly.
Just an idea. There you go. Next time, give me a call. Right?
Hey, coin a phrase. I forgot to tell you about the charity stuff I was doing on the Facebook Lives I started before podcasting. I was doing all this interviewing on Facebook and about people who've exactly what podcasting I was doing before on Facebook. People with stories and all that stuff. And I was doing everyday check-in, affirmations, and I had a lovely traction. I had a narcissist working for us. I didn't know at the time, and he ruined everything.
Is that still available on podcast?
No,
on Facebook?
It all collapsed in COVID. But I ran my group during lockdown, and I had 40, 50 people every week come and join us online. I also did a thing like Gok was doing, Isolation Nation, playing music every day, but I had 5, 6 DJs in a box coming on from all around the world. We had more Ladies' Day, we had like the old school soul men, we had the whole school house people. So every morning became a 5 or 6 people come and join us, play records, play their favourite tunes. We discussed what was going on in the world, mate. And every morning at 11 o'clock, people would check in.
This is during lockdown?
Yeah.
Well, I wish I'd known.
About 5,000 or 6,000 people every morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was lovely.
That's the thing about lockdown. I mean, we've got to go because Adam's going to chuck us out. Adam, the producer, must have someone else. We've got Gokwan waiting outside, I think. But lockdown, there was a lot of positivity as well as there was a lot of bad stuff we know.
Yes.
And horror stories that I can't even address in my mind. But a lot of people, learned a new balance in life.
And stuff,
a lot of people, our generation, learned it's much better to go clubbing in the afternoon and the early evening rather than pushing yourself to go out. Which you're doing a lot of now. I see that on Instagram.
Yeah, it's new. I know it's really horrible to say because I spent so much time in nightclubs, but I think I always go back to my Space days.
I'm all done by midnight. Your Space is perfect.
I love my
be
Space
home for tea
days,
time.
and that's why I love doing day parties. I like the light. I like
energy. Come out and
energy.
doesn't ruin the next day. There's that thing when you're in the clubbing
And
scene.
I don't look. I'm in bed at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every night.
Me too, mate.
And I'm asleep by 15:15. So.
Everyone we're going to get chucked out. Everyone of our age I say that to says the same thing. And even the one, I've got a kid, but most of even without kids, it's my dirty secret, 9 o'clock. I fucking love it. I get into bed. If you give me 8 to 9 hours sleep, up at 6, happy as Larry.
Done. I'm at 5:40 every morning.
We're going to get evicted. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing. I could